Always good to hear from Gen X. Excited to have him back starting in the league, not just subbing in for anyone in a playoff circumstance. But a lot of talk about Nasus AP. I don't think we're going to get that today. I think it's a bit more tame. We did hear yesterday, though, that there were some questionable circumstances, some unfortunate circumstances before the game even started for SK.
So I heard from SK's manager that Gen X wanted to select Grasp, but he played a warm-up against his mid laner before, and he had Airy, and he completely forgot to swap, and ended up playing tank Jayce with Airy. Didn't look the best. Hopefully, he'll show something better today.
But he tried it. Now we know. Tank Jayce with Airy, 0% win rate. Maybe not the ideal option.
Yeah.
Some room for adaptation. And maybe just day one jitters. Of course, for you, Jackspectra, it's only day two. I'm Drakos, Jackspectra. Welcome to the Cash Test.
Yeah, I'm incredibly excited to be here. Both of these teams are, I think, more interesting than people maybe think. I think yesterday they had a very poor showing, but I think today they should be able to show quite a bit more. I really want to see some more early game aggression from Heretics than we saw yesterday. And from SK, I think they showed a better game than Heretics yesterday, but I think they can definitely do a lot better today. So we have Viktor, first pick here from Heretics. I believe they picked that yesterday as well, yeah. And but Urgot hover here.
So far, it seems like we're getting a general understanding of what is strong. Now, the Ashe hover is interesting.
Would be the first Ashe.
Yeah, because we expected it to be high priority, and it really has not shown up a lot. So while conventional tier lists and international games would indicate that it's this powerhouse pick,
so it's going to be the Varus again. So Heretics responded yesterday to the Varus with the Zeri. I think didn't look the best. They kind of just scaled until they eventually lost. And I would like to see something that can maybe match the early game aggression a little bit more. Something alongside the Ashe or the MF. Something that can actually have some early game pressure and fight a little bit. They also take the Galio, a really good pick into Viktor. Can get push against it, can tank all his damage. It's tank season. And we'll probably be seeing Team Heretics lock their bot lane here and maybe a jungle pick as well.
Kind of good litmus test to see how well RKR, how good Reeker can play in the mid lane. The first few levels for Galio we saw in this matchup can be really tough. This is the matchup earlier that Gen X was practicing against him, which led to the unfortunate Airy. So hopefully.
Oh, the Ezreal. I like the Ezreal a lot. I think the Ezreal provides a lot of early game power. It provides a strong and good foundation for the bot lane, while also allowing for a lot of flexibility towards the second phase. You can either go into a range support matchup, you can go with an engage support, or you can try to do like more of a lane bully style lane, because Ezreal has one of the strongest level 1s in the game with his high attack speed passive. And it's going to be the Xin Zhao answer into Maokai. Not the best jungle matchup, but you really need to lock in an AD jungler against Maokai, because, I mean, not against Maokai, but when you have the Galio already, because going double AP and that low damage is not going to look great.
And we saw the same mid-jungle duo yesterday from SK.
And it looked good.
It looked good.
It didn't.
Really, yeah, and I will say, really respect to Isma and Gen X. I think that they both got a little bit of flack after that game because they got too aggressive. But I think a lot of the circumstances where they were willing to be more aggressive were why SK did look good. Did look like they had a fighting shot in that game, but obviously might have gone a bit too far in a few of those final moments. And see if they've refined that a bit coming into day two. For both these teams, you said at the start, obviously hoping to kind of get a reset, hoping to show more, as neither team was able to, I think, deliver probably on the practice that they had brought into this season.
Yeah, I'm really happy that Heretics is changing it up. I think SK had more of the right idea. They just kind of misexecuted. While Heretics yesterday, it didn't look like anything. They kind of just watched the game play itself out for 40 minutes until they eventually lost. And I want to see some more proactivity, and I think with this Ezreal pick we're getting it. And it's cool to see that SK is then matching it with this really aggressive mid-jungle combo. It'll be interesting to see like how will Kamiloo do, because what I'm expecting to see is Isma should be camping this mid lane, because a big thing that Galio provides is usually it's not the strongest in the 1v1, but he's really good in 2v2s, and he's really good at setting up ganks for his jungle.
Definitely something to keep an eye on. Also what Sheo is going to do. I think Team Heretics, you said it, not the most active game. Had some pretty solid setups, trading objectives, right up until, fell away, and they were unfortunately giving up an Otacon to Rogue. But for SK, Braum taken away now, limiting that option. See what Rahel wants to lock in here, whether it's for his mid laner or for his support.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see if they go for the... It's going to be the Jayce lock-in again. I mean, this is like very, very similar draft if they go for the Jayce.
To be fair,
hopefully we see the Grasp this time.
If you're SK, I'm guessing that they feel like yesterday the game was in their hands and that they absolutely could have won. And it wasn't necessarily the draft that was the issue, it was some of the execution things, some of the rune choices, perhaps.
And it's interesting to see as well, like Team Heretics went for the Maokai, and that was what they lost to yesterday. And it looked pretty good yesterday in Rogue's hands. I think Malrang was doing pretty well on it, and he had a pretty high level of pressure. And they're going to go for the Jax here into the Jayce. So this is a matchup where Jax is kind of happy to just scale. I'd say he can be a lot more useful in the later game team fights than Jayce can, just due to the fact that he has his stun, he buys so much time, and while Jayce will be probably going the tank build and be pretty annoying as well, I could see the Jax.
Interestingly, Team Heretics are playing the exact same composition other than the Leona that was played against SK yesterday. So while the nameplates are different, functionally a very similar composition. Leona is a bit odd, especially when Rell's on the table.
Yeah, I think for me the Leona's a bit weird because when you think of Maokai, you think cleanse. You know, he has his root on his W, his root on his ulti, so you need to take cleanse regardless. And then you look in Leona as well, who doesn't really want to play against cleanse. And you also give the enemy pretty damn good Merc Threads value. You have a Jax that does a lot of magical damage. You have Maokai, magic damage. Viktor, magic damage. Ezreal, a lot of magic damage. Leona, magic damage. That's a lot of magic damage, Drakos.
I think you saying it for the 5th time convinced me. But the first 4 I wasn't sold, but the 5th time you said it made it clear.
I'm a bit worried about the Merc Threads value here. They have gotten very nerfed, and they are more expensive than most things these days. But
you're giving them some outs that I respect. But obviously, still, tenacity remains.
If this was last season and they did this draft, I would be very, very disappointed. But I think with the state of Merc Threads, you can get away with going more AP. But can we?
You want me to pivot away?
No, can we talk about the Jetpacks?
Wait, we're getting now into our first game of the day. Everybody get hyped. Team Heretics versus SK. Gen X coming in clutch. I'm not sure if we can do it, so I'll do it. So if one of us has to get in trouble, it'll be me. Gen X quick to say, dang, I meant to take Aftershock this time. So we remade. So good sense of humor, obviously. It's a tough way to start the season with a situation like that. And we are in the midst of a pause.
Interesting to see the face rush Galio. So this is something that's been popping up more. And the idea is that you're just getting so tanky through your items anyways that the face rush allows you to kind of have that stickiness to stay onto people that Galio normally doesn't have.
Yep.
And I think for me, the highlight that I really want to look for is just how does SK play this mid-jungle out? Are they able to punish Kamiloo? Yesterday, he looked fine. It was just a normal laning phase. But in this game, I think they're definitely going to be putting a lot more pressure towards mid lane. I think Loopy should also have roam timers to mid, and it should be like a game that's all about this mid lane.
Definitely the potential to be all about mid-jungle. Calling out now Rahel, going for the Comet. So likely not the on-hit build we saw in our games yesterday. Historically, a pretty decent answer into Ezreal. The lethality Varus.
Yeah, I mean, Ezreal and Varus are very similar in the fact that when Varus has played lethality, he wants to play also from really far away. One thing that Ezreal can't really opt into, which you'd want into lethality Varus, is lifesteal early on. It feels really bad to buy an early Vamp Scepter when you already have the tier, you want to buy the Triforce. So unlike something like an MF, which we've also seen yesterday into the Ezreal, who instantly rushes the BT and can kind of negate a lot of that poke, it doesn't mean that it's an interesting poke war between these two champions of who hits more skill shots, and both of that damage is actually going to last because neither of them can sustain it back up.
Definitely, yeah. No Enchantress standing behind them.
It's going to be a lane swap, it's looking like here. So this makes sense for Heretics because Jax is like probably the best, at least one of the best lane swap champions, as it's so hard to dive him with that E level 1. And Ezreal into Varus can be a hard matchup early lane. Like, you have a good level 1, but after that it can be kind of rough. Gen X is going to be moving into the mid lane here just to soak XP, while Carlsen is going to be bot trying to do the same.
See how much a chunk SK can get down. Carlsen willing to concede some XP, doesn't want to risk losing that health bar. Clearly
he's going to
anticipating a dive.
And then E the damage, and then hopefully get some the melee minions here. That's the goal, at least, of this. But he's not really getting it. It's hard to say. They did slightly buff the XP range.
Yep.
So in these lane swap situations, it can be a bit easier now for the top laner to get the XP. It's interesting to see that normally what happens is that Gen X would do the same thing that Carlsen is doing, just on top lane, that he would just try to soak XP from afar. But instead, Gen X is actually choosing to go mid and then choosing to help with jungle camps, which is very similar to what we saw in Worlds last year, where the top laner just kind of roams around and looks to come and dive the enemy top laner.
The infamous level 1 Vayne roams.
Yeah.
From I think the TF level 1 roams might have been more effective, but now setting up for the 4-man dive, Carlsen
I don't
Still
think
healthy.
this is gonna work out.
Grass proc still ready to go. Stend on the way. Only level 1 on the Leona, but a bit more CC doesn't hurt. SK hitting him with a thumbs up.
Now they're gonna choose not to take it. I think it's too hard, especially when Leona's there. Even without Leona, I think it... I mean, maybe they could have one-shot him, but it's hard against the Jax with the E. He can buy so much time and then stun you afterwards once you've got the tower aggro. It can be really difficult.
Interesting though, because what they've effectively done is Jayce does eat some of the XP from mid lane, but gets Galio through some of those more difficult first levels against the Viktor. Goes bot and then is in time to TP back to top lane. And overall, while they did concede a TP there, I don't feel like it was too bad from the side of SK in terms of at least they got Reeker out of those first few levels where, I mean, we saw yesterday, he just got bullied. He just really could not play until level 3.
Yeah, it's interesting how, like, this kind of changes the matchup a little bit, where when you're playing this melee champion into the range on mid, you'd expect the Viktor to bully quite a bit until the jungle can start pressuring. But because the Jayce is there obviously farming with him, then the Viktor's just going to sit under his tower and wait for the wave.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting adaptation from SK, and I kind of like it. It's interesting to see like how much does Carlsen catch up this whole wave, because it's looking like it's going to be very, very equal. And if so, I'd say both teams are kind of coming out of this lane swap situation thinking like, yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, it's not too bad, certainly from either side. Flakked able to reset, does get his tier, now heading back to bot lane. Send with the recall as well. See what some of these more standard lanes look like as we get further in. Of course, in terms of overall XP, very comparable as you highlighted. Flakked with a slight lead, GenX with a slight lead on either side. But across the board, overall, pretty even.
Yeah, very, very even game so far. Both junglers just kind of full clearing. And as you said, slight XP lead for Flakked, slight XP lead for GenX.
But now finally we get standard lanes.
Now we get standard lane.
I like this version of the lane swap in that, unlike many of the previous iterations of lane swap, even as far back as 2015, no one immediately like obliterates a tower.
Oh yeah, it's so boring.
And then the entire game opens up.
I played an EU Masters where that was the meta. You just traded both towers. It was so weird. It was like a fever dream.
No, instead we get ganks like this. That was clean from Stend! The hard read, GenX. Feeling like Dr. Seuss after that. Team Heretics.
That was clean.
That was clean. And we said yesterday the coordination wasn't there, but the hands were.
Wow.
Certainly remains the case in day 2, as the coordination also coming in clutch. And Carlsen, the Jax. Yes, he only gets the assist. A bit unfortunate the Stend gets the kill, but still happy to have advantage. And GenX already had to burn the TP.
Yeah, that's huge. He loses a lot of waves from that. And I have to be honest with you, Drakos, I'm not too familiar with Carlsen Jax. He was my teammate for all of last year, but he never really liked the Jax. It was a champion that, even when it was meta, he wasn't too big of a fan of it, but it's interesting to see that he just kind of picks it this game, and I want to see like how he is on it. You know, has he really improved on it? Because it was a champion that even when it was really OP, he wasn't really willing to play it. So I'm excited to see, can he transition this lead even further? Because at 10 Jax, that's a menace.
Certainly is. And the kind of development you want to see for a player coming into LEC. First split on the starting lineup here. Hello. Nice backstep. Is forced to flash though. Reeker also trying to follow up. Gravity Field means it's a bit of poke back.
Bit of a random. I'm not sure about that. But very valuable to get the Viktor flash here, because that means like now for 5 minutes he's playing this immobile mage into a Galio with flash. It's really, really easy to set up ganks here.
And that's what you talked about, right? The strength of this mid-jungle duo did require support as well. But now the question is, can the Viktor play more defensively as needed? Team Heretics, unsurprisingly, seeing the grub started up, are going to start dragging. They do have bot push.
Yeah, it's going to be like a really standard cross map here. One team gets grubs, the other gets straight. Oh, he's actually pulling off it.
Isma's on the way down. They're just too far, but I think they started a little bit late, and obviously Maokai alone. It's a bit of a slow take.
Yeah, it's a bit awkward here. They drop both grubs and Drake. When you get the first blood, you're not really getting much of a lead on top either. The Jayce is actually ahead of the Jax, even though everything happened. Not the best for Heretics here to get this Drake.
Sheo, maybe he can find the angle. Reeker, perhaps a bit of false confidence. Not sure if he saw Sheo in the area. Now spots him, can't just walk back, flash to safety, arcane smash in. Again, good CC. So many resources given to Carlsen, and it's paying off the Jax. Finding the first kill, second one he's participated in.
Yeah, and Jax is really going to be the highlight of this game. I think it's not an easy Jax game to play. Normally you want to play Jax against these auto-attacking carries. He's really good into Xin Zhao and good into Varus, but they do have a lot of peeling tools against the Jax. But I think once he gets a few items and a lot of CDR, where he can actually just start jumping around and having his E nearly permanently off cooldown, he can do a lot of work this game, and I think his role is gonna be to buy space for his carries.
It looks like Gen X not opting to go for the tank build.
Wow.
So
tank with area. 80 grass, baby. That's my region,
yeah. I mean, to be fair, grass still solid on Jayce. You highlighted it yesterday, right? Melee form, get the full value of the grass proc.
Yeah, so you start with the range form, and then once the auto lands, you swap to melee, and it's as if you get the melee grass proc, which gives you a lot more HP and just makes the grass way more OP.
But we'll see if this gives them a bit more of the damage that they're looking for. I think having two poke champions who aren't completely auto-attack reliant against the Ninja Tabby's Jax,
looking at it again, I think it makes sense to go AD Jayce here because you synergize a lot with the Varus, and also because you already do have the tank in the Galio and the Rell, and it's like 3 tanks. I mean, I like my tanks, but
damage has to come from somewhere, and when Varus isn't building on hit, you need a few more members who are going to consistently do that damage, right? You don't want it to be... I think the curse of Varus this last year in the LEC was if you miss your Q, your teamfight damage is gone.
Yeah.
Now you wait for 6 seconds till you're allowed to play the game again.
And now you got a Jayce doing the same thing.
But by their powers combined, every 3 seconds we'll have damage. Now, though, 9 minutes in, goal difference not really massive at this stage. Small lead for Team Heretics, but of course the double objectives for SK.
This is looking like a really good play by SK here. Maokai is really far away from bot lane, and Galio's hovering with ulti as well. Curious to see how much they will let Flakked drop here, or if Maokai will just say, you're on your own and I want to go top. Because if he decides to just go top, it might be hard for Ezreal to enter bot here. And they're not really getting the strong sides trades they'd want here on Carlsen. He'd really want to be chunking Gen X right now, but oh, they're going for the play regardless. Jayce flashes and 10 second cooldown.
Follow-up is there, good damage. Gen X not tanky enough this time around. Carlsen already ulting. Gen X gets a decent bit of damage back.
Okay, they are capping my boy Carlsen.
Well, the thing is,
we gotta see some work.
The thing is, when we came into draft, you're like Flakked, Ezreal, early game. This is where the power is going to be. We talked about the Viktor. They need to go mid, but Team Heretics clearly.
I mean, Jayce is also very vulnerable to getting ganked, and you do have setup from the Jax. I just thought mid was an easier target, but it seems like they've decided that Gen X is their Viktor.
Holy. Carlsen, Sheen now completed. Unending Despair already there for Sheo, courtesy of the bit of extra gold that he has been able to pick up.
But I'm not quite seeing the lead that I would really want to see from this. I mean, it's like you have 600 gold lead on the Jax. That's not a whole lot. I would want to see that these kills are transition into a CS lead and transition into plates, but right now it's very like kind of empty kills.
Of course, no ulti for Jax either in this fight. Carlsen has to be careful about this one. Burned it in the previous exchange. Team Heretics taking away at least one grub will deny the point towards feats of strength. But SK might just be happy to have a 4 grub up. Carlsen now locked up, looking to find that shutdown. Clean combos coming in. Galio across the top. Excellently played. Ezreal does a good bit of damage, but Team Heretics over eager on the contest. Maybe now can try and turn it back. Viktor doing a good bit of damage. Reeker now in trouble. Rahel running. Isma running. Team Heretics on the descent. Flakked ready to pop off. Fully stacked on the passive. Rahel taken down as well. SK a bit over eager. Team Heretics coming out on top of the extended play.
Wow, really solid counter engage from Heretics here. I thought it looked really doomed for them. It was a good engage by Loopy. He got onto 2 or 3, I believe, and they got the Galio ult on top of it. But then just the Ezreal ult, the Viktor ult, the Leona combo, everything just layered on top of them, and really good turn by Heretics.
And that's the thing that you have to respect on the side of SK is you have so many fantastic engage tools, but if it means running face first into an Ezreal who's poking for free, if you're not taking that Viktor early on, stopping any further value from coming through, you can see in that extended play.
Yeah.
Just works out nicely. So it's still tough.
It's still SK with the tempo lead, however, and they are able to... Looking for a dive here, actually.
Taunt there, trying to use the gravity field to keep himself safe. Sheo, the ulti's going to get in, but it might be too late. Tower being tanked, Stend on the way in as well. SK, we saw it, 2! Another overcommittal, Loopy running. Viktor still alive, the flash! Oh! SK fans, close your eyes, Team Heretics.
What is happening
right open. Gen X now also going for an exchange. Sometimes you just...
I mean, the play looked good from
really
SK.
Good.
They had a tempo lead. They were first on the objective, but then it looked really good until it didn't.
a classic story in the game of League of Legends, but Stend on fire this game, I think it's safe to say. He and Sheo, well, they haven't done as much together as a unit as you expect when we talk about, you know, the iconic duos of League of Legends jungle support. Individually, they both made great plays around Carlsen, and now he's been there twice to really deny the dives from SK.
Yeah.
Loopy can do the same thing.
This looks like a greedy recall from Carlsen, but he's probably going to be fine with this slippery kit.
Now Sheo, second objective. Again, all 3 grubs for Team Heretics as well as the Dragon. One more objective. I'll get the feats of strength.
I mean, objective-wise, it's quite an equal game, but 3,000 gold lead at 13 minutes, that's no small amount.
No, and certainly for a team that yesterday, I mean, we talked about it, right? Both these teams had a bad start, but for Team Heretics, it just felt like such a slow game where they weren't really getting as active on the map. And today, it certainly has been punish heavy, but a lot more proactive plays, a lot more good looks, and the team coordination overall has been much better. Because yesterday, 5 players with pretty good hands, not always on the same page, very much a different story on day 2.
And I do think, like, if I'm Heretics, I'm thinking yesterday we didn't have the tools to play proactive. And now I'm coming into this game and I'm saying, okay, when we do have the tools, we can actually do stuff. And then you have SK on the other hand, doing the exact same thing that they did yesterday, making the same mistakes. It has to feel really, really bad for confidence and really bad for their overall game plan.
Definitely. And I think the thing about champions like the lethality Varus, right, is it's entirely dependent on you landing those Qs. It doesn't have, I'd say, the same scaling grace as the on-hit in a lot of these fights against so many of these tanky targets. And Jax will be the problem. I didn't really expect necessarily to get to the game state where Jax would be a problem in a game like this with so much early game focus around what the mid jungle, the AD could do. But yeah, Jax is going to be a problem. I don't actually know who kills this champion.
Yeah, I talked a lot about how Heretics was very magic damage focused, but I didn't actually touch on that SK is also very physical damage focused. Because you have the lethality on the Varus, you're going to have the lethality on the Jayce. I was kind of thinking that Varus would go on it and Jayce goes tank, and then you don't really have that problem. But now you have 2 lethality champs with a Galio. Very low magic damage. So once we see this Jax getting Tabi, getting Zonias, and getting a lot of armor, I think it's going to be really, really hard to kill.
Ulti comes out from Rahel. Going to body block the follow-up. Nice backstep from Rahel. Gets clipped by the solar eclipse. Might now be in trouble. Flakked going over the wall. Not going to be risked too much. Stend.
The play is just so weird. By SK. What do we do? Okay. I'm not sure. Like, I feel like it seems kind of desperate that they're looking for these weird picks, just overloading on one side. I mean, when you're down in a game like this, you know you're getting outscaled. It can be...
We talked earlier about a little bit messy recalls. Reeker in that situation now. Team Heretics check. Find him. Force the flash at the very least. Does have the TP if he wants to reset. But the game, I think, quickly falling away from SK.
Yeah.
First tower going to fall. Feats of strength are going to go over to the side of Team Heretics. This is, I mean, an excellent position they've set themselves up in.
The worst thing you can do when you're behind like this is to try and overforce. Like when you start to play desperate, that's when you know that a game like this is going to be really, really difficult. Because you need to stay calm, and the way that you actually come back in League of Legends is by the enemy making a mistake. If you try to overforce and look for it, then you're just going to end up with plays like this that are obviously not going to work.
I mean, but again, it's so hard because when you have a lead, right? When you're this Maokai who's just going to build armor for the rest of the game, what would normally be a mistake is no longer a mistake when it takes the entire enemy team to kill you. You can take a bit more risk when it comes to phase checking brushes. You can take a bit more risk because your laners are stronger.
Team Heretics has a very forgiving comp. You have a bot and a top that is very safe, and you have a Maokai that can phase check with these. However, SK do have a lot of CC in their comp, so I would want to see them do like a proper overload, get a deep push on one side, look to use Varus ult, look to use Flash Rell engage, get a numbers advantage, and fight that way. Because if they fight with equal numbers right now, they're going to need to really outplay them to win.
Definitely. SK again. First on mid prio. Bot wave, relatively even. Top wave is going to be untouched by both sides. Team Heretics is going to be later to the play, but SK aren't really doing meaningful damage to the objective.
It's very slow. Then it's going to be able to find a good engagement.
Q doesn't connect from Rahel. We're flipping it. 50-50. Isma. Leash, and there goes Sheo wins the 50-50 SK.
They're so split. How do they fight this?
The hesitancy is costing them so dearly. Reeker is finally here. Loopy now going and trying to make a hero play. In the meantime, Galio instantly going to follow up, but he's only able to connect onto 2, and it's the front line. The Jax still tanky enough to survive, but Isma's trying to follow. Reeker doing some good work as Rahel finds the angle with the arrows in the back line. The Varus finally getting some work done. SK, a messy start to be certain, but they get 2 in the process.
I really didn't like how SK split up there, but what I liked even less was how hesitant Team Heretics was. I feel like if they just went on Isma as a unit, they could have just one-shot him. But Flakked was alone frontlining against him, trying to kill him, which allowed Loopy to actually flash in and set up for this Galio ult, and he kind of suicide engages to set up the whole fight.
Again, we
Like,
look
look,
start.
if Stend is going on Isma here, and the fight, you know, like, go in.
Look, ultimately, that hesitancy, the space Reeker's able to create with his Galio as well. Obviously, just the zone that taunt provides. But a bit messy for a team that had such a massive gold lead.
Yeah, these fights should be really in their favor, especially when it's equal numbers. But I think the hesitancy just cost them there.
Does Team Heretics spotting Loopy. See if he has to burn anything else. For now, it's just a Celestial opposition popped. Q poke
They
from
do get set up on this Drake here. But you could see from this last fight as well that when the poke... Oh, really good poke from Ezreal was picked up.
Yeah, Flakked. Landing a lot of these clutch ultimates. Rahel.
And that's the thing when you're playing this like lethality Varus into Ezreal. The Varus has no way of lifestealing that, so they just have to drop the Drake when you take a chunk like that. And it goes the other way as well. If it's the Varus that gets that poke on the Ezreal, then Ezreal can't sustain it either, and maybe they get the Drake.
Cut and dry. Able to find that angle. Doesn't always have to be the kill. The chunk enough of an advantage as the Cloud Drake will go over. Just a note for overlay this week. The timers for the Drake after that third Drake not functioning. So we'll keep you honest on when the next Drake is going to be spawning, but don't worry, it's not just your PC. It's a bit of an issue on our side. To get it fixed as soon as possible. That said, Team Heretics also won the 50-50 in the previous play, so they get a mid lane tower as well. I think safe to say tempo heaven here, having the time of their lives. So someone will go back and catch that top wave, but in a really excellent spot as we look ahead towards Otacon, spawning in about 30 seconds.
Yeah, and this lines up perfectly with Ezreal's 2-power spike here, as he's going to finish his Mana, I believe, right after this wave, or should be very close to it if he doesn't have it right now. And once he gets that, then I think that's when Ezreal really starts to outvalue Varus in teamfights and should be able to really pump out damage.
Flakked. Waiting a little bit longer. We'll grab the red buff at the very least. Might have to stay for one more wave. But neither side appears to be too eager to set up for Otacon, who has, of course, spawned near the top lane, so it won't cost him. A lot of games where, of course, the difference between in 30 seconds and getting that second item spike.
He's actually quite far away from the Mana. I thought he was closer because I thought it was the same gold as Rahel, but he is down 600 gold. So it's going to need a few more waves. Maybe that's a timer that they could punish, but this Otacon is very tanky, so it's an objective that you really need good setup for, and you need a really good angle to start it. You can't really just start it randomly, as it just chunks you way too hard.
And you can see here now why pro players love those champions. It's because they push mid-wave real good. RSQ versus Ezreal ult.
It's super obnoxious to play against either of these champions. They're just perma one-shotting.
It's undersold because it's just not something you think about a lot in solo queue, right? But it's so important in pro play.
It just makes holding this mid tower so easy. You can see like the fact that Ezreal can hold this mid tower throughout, like for the last 4 or 5 minutes, just sitting there clearing the waves, actually allows for his team to play the game without holding his hand. While if you're playing something like an Aphelios on mid lane, you need your support to sit there with you, babysit you the whole wave as you clear every single minion.
Definitely nice to have a strong, independent AD carry, especially for Loopy and Stend, right? Who are both clearly guys who want to be looking to make those plays, find those angles. More vision set up from the side of Team Heretics. They did have that top push, so a bit more vision control over Otacon as Reeker's at least threatening to cancel those recalls. Now, second item coming through.
Second item on Flakked. Big spike, but Varus is also looking surprisingly quite scary, nearly at 3 items. There's going to be a very interesting team fight. It should be like a long standoff where we just see who lands more poke, and whoever gets the poke gets the control and should have a large advantage going into the actual fight.
Luckily that blue buff is there. They're running incredibly low on mana. Already opting for early pen. Identifying the weakness that you kind of called out in this composition, that they are so heavily magic damage.
You see the 3 Merc Treads already on SK, might be a Merc Treads for Genax as well, and that just highlights like when enemies got full AP, you buy Mercs. You know? It just
value. Also, I mean, unfortunate that they were not able to get the feats of strength, because the upgraded Mercs and that additional little shield goes a long way.
That's true.
In these fights and these poke battles. Now, however, the Otacon setup. The infamous 1-2.
I mean, I think the biggest...
Reeker caught out at least a little bit.
Oh.
Just punch backwards.
Jayce,
Now the
yeah,
fall.
the
Mid laner just going to get taken out. Loopy, nothing he can do to stop that one. Isma also running. Otacon leashed briefly, but Loopy now trying to turn
really,
TP
really
into Rahel. Excellent ulti to keep multiple members locked up. Isma buying as much base as he can with his own ultimate knockback. Flakked trying to finish the kill. A little bit more coming in. The reset, the extra damage coming in for the Viktor as well. Rahel has to get out. And Carlsen to at least get some space for his backline. Sheo playing with fire. Team Heretics.
Loopy really saving this play. I thought Reeker would sure choose to flash the Maokai ult because, as we talked about, they have so much CC. So that means if you get hit by one, you're going to get CC chain until death. But he ends up holding the flash, but Loopy really saves the play, getting some return kills, because if Galio dies there for free, that's probably just Otacon.
Next big chunk. Obviously Viktor no ult, but it really doesn't matter. It's 2 items. Has the blue buff. Free to just keep spamming.
You see here, like,
Sheo.
once they get the Maokai ult on the Galio, then they can chain it into the Leona ult, and it looks super good for Heretics. If they just don't chase for Zhao now, they could go to Otacon, but I can understand their thought process. It looks like Zhao's kind of caught. They don't know Loopy's exact position, and he gets a really good flash engage over the wall, ends up turning the fight, and it ends up being a much more equal trade.
That over-eagerness, of course, often what we talked about yesterday, costing SK. Team Heretics also falling a little bit victim. Deceptive tankiness of the Xin. He's not actually tanky, but the ult does a lot of work to mitigate any pick you think you might have found. Again, we're in the battle for mid-prio. Rahel still not quite on that 3-item threshold, but at least clearly has that lead.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to look at the 2 ADC items and see that Varus has such a big lead. I guess because a lot of it was spent on the boots upgrade for Ezreal, and he does also have a small gold lead, and also Varus, one of the big strengths of Lethality Varus is that his items are really cheap. But it does, like, you look at it and you think to yourself, wow, this Ezreal's far behind.
Reeker stunned up. Reeker going to be in trouble here, most certainly. Ulti goes out. Nice movement, but there's just too many members in the area trying to flash, but the amount of CC brought to the table is too much. The Maokai coming in as well. Now Loopy needs to run. Plant. A little bit awkward.
It's a tough game for Reeker. I think this, I mean, they're going to probably try to contest the Otacon 4v5, but another time where Reeker gets caught here.
I mean, they already have midway pushed in. They're going to try to knock down tier 2. I don't.
They're going to trade it for Drake as well. I mean, it makes sense. It's hard to fight this 4v5, and they are already stronger 5v5, so.
I mean, it's such a tough call, right? You knock down tier 2, you get a Drake.
Yeah.
For a Baron, that feels fine. For what is probably Otacon into a Baron?
Yeah. That's the hard part when Otacon spawns at this minute, yeah.
This is the season where that trade deal does not feel good anymore.
Yeah. Because normally what you'd want to do is you just want to wait out the Otacon buff for the 2.5 minutes that it is. But since Nash is already up, what Heretics can do if they're smart here is just kind of ignore waves, just push out the waves that you have right now, instantly run start the Nash, and just play like psychopaths. Just go fight. Whatever fight is a good fight.
Certainly. And you have double TPs up as well. So obviously it normally takes some time to get back to the fight with the reset, but Carlsen and Kamiloo can more or less be there instantly even if they do go down. Gen X still doesn't have his TP available.
Yeah. I just really hope that Heretics right now are not scared to start a fight. I just hope that they just go start this Nash. You guys can skip a few steps. You don't need everything to be perfect. Just please get a good fight with this Otacon going.
Spotted Reeker in bot lane.
That's a really good chunk. Now starting the Nash is looking even better. I hope that they don't just play for tier 2.
Reeker still going bot, does have TP.
That's the start Nash.
SK just trying to get mid control. They don't really have good information on where Team Heretics are, but luckily that control word's so clutch.
That's a really good control word, yeah.
Pushing now.
They do have vision of it, but even though they have vision, I really like this from Heretics because, one, they do it really fast. That's one of the nice things about Ezreal. And I think any fight here should be great for Heretics. They have great position, and they have the
3K. Maokai ult to zone them off.
That's a free Nash.
Honestly, clean textbook setup. Excellent use of the Otacon buff. Gen X now caught out as well. Team Heretics still want to make the most, right? It costs them nothing.
This is really good.
They don't lose the buffs when the Baron's taken down. Now they can just chase down Isma as well. Looking like a 1-2 punch that might just end the game here. Isma taken out. Baron buff empowered Team Heretics.
You have Otacon GA buff, baby. Every fight is a good fight. Isma falls into the trap of thinking that he can go on the Jax, but with Otacon buff, he can just keep moving forward.
Easy call. Reeker going to knock down another tier 2, but it's really just that consolation prize. Almost a 5,000 gold lead side Team Heretics, but Kamiloo trying to get out of this one, though. At least grabs the buff.
I mean, he's dead, but he's not dead.
100 gold. They're waiting.
They're waiting.
Okay. Don't quite want to risk him having his cooldowns or the mana to use them, so we'll take him out. 100 gold.
There was actually only around like 15-20 seconds left of the buff. So I was a bit panicked there to go for him because he did have no mana, so I would have liked to see if they actually committed to it, but would have to wait a while. I mean, they still have the buff now. Would be a bit too long.
I mean, the thing is that Viktor's been a lot of times this game, but like he doesn't need that much mana to one-shot an AD carry. Very strong champ at 3 items as he now finishes his death cap.
He's looking scary. A little bit scarier than this Galio, that's for sure.
Bit of a tough one for Reeker. Again, you talked about the sheer amount of CC. It means there's still some angles for SK to maybe play for a pick, but Team Heretics haven't been making too many of the individual mistakes or getting caught out, right? Only 4 kills to the side of SK.
Yeah, and it's gotta feel really bad when you feel like what you did yesterday worked, and then you go back to it, and it just goes even worse.
Yeah.
This mid jungle is 0-8. They are not able to do anything right now.
And it's mid jungle you talked about where they should have been able to kind of further extend that lead. They got the flash out, but then of course so much focus was put around Carlsen on the side of Team Heretics that it seems like SK weren't quite able to press the advantage in the way that they wanted to. And as much as Carlsen got all that attention, a lot of this game has just been, you know, better setups and some good overall team play from the side of Team Heretics. Sheo, ulti going, Rahel forced to back off. Will be rooted.
Oh.
Loopy now going in. Good combo.
Really
Galio to go over the top. Rahel also landing a clutch arrow. Maybe a bit over eager. Viktor trying to turn it back with an ulti of his own. Isma off to the side, though, just gets one popped. Ulti animation. Dies in the middle of it. Definitely not ideal. And in the extended fight, Team Heretics can just continue to poke, continue to chip away at this base. Sheo.
They just don't have the damage rate because this looked like such a good engage from Loopy, but they're not able to do anything.
One inhibitor's going to fall. Second to follow. Baron buff still there. 25 seconds. Double cannon minions. SK will hold on a little bit longer. Team Heretics don't want to get too eager here, but the angles for good fights are few and far between because, yeah, it did look good.
We got a TP behind from Jayce here. They're trying to make something happen, but they do have Nash recalls. And they
do have items. He's not going to one-shot Sheo.
It's nothing, I'm afraid.
I mean, he's full. Just look at the armor.
Yeah.
Red buff healing coming in.
And now Heretics is just going to look to use this top wave to play for third inhib. Probably going to ignore this dragon as they just want to try to accelerate the game.
A couple of these moments, I gotta say, it's not all perfect from the side of Team Heretics. It still looks like they're very much in control, but some questionable recalls, I think, for both sides.
They're reading a lot of the recalls and messing up their tempo, which is making this game a little bit clunky at times. But when you have 2 inhibs like this and you have a really good siege comp with the Maokai, the Ezreal, and the Viktor, it should be really easy for them to just go top, put down the Maokai ultimate, and poke.
And anything short of a wombo combo just isn't going to do it as Loopy is caught here. None of the damage from Team Heretics is present. Of course,
they can chase them forever.
Now you've got Flakked coming in. Should just be able to finish the job quite quickly. Pops his red pot, extra sustain just in case.
Now this is a disaster for SK. Now they lost their only real engage into Heretics as they're going to siege for this tier 3 top. Probably SK is just going to have to drop it and look for a Nexus defense.
Look, pretty cut and dry from Team Heretics. They found the picks again. Able to push this forward. Flakked popping the red pot means that any poke that does land from Rahel doesn't feel impactful.
Can't help but feel that like SK's game plan this game looks so desperate. It's like they don't really have a clear idea of what they want to do and they're just looking for random picks and they keep getting caught while doing it.
Well, you talked about kind of the telegraph mid-jungle, and it just seems like Team Heretics did not let them get that edge, and now Flakked just been unassailable in these fights. The AD carry mid-lane threat, sheer amount of space generated. Yeah. Carlsen as well now, a big problem.
They only need a few Astral Qs to land, a few victories, and then they should be able to start sieging these Nexus towers.
A little bit more poke. 31 minutes in, 60 to 51.5k. Should be an easy close here. Drake on the table if they want an exit objective, but Isma getting things started. Big catch. Loopy now trying to lock up Carlsen as well. Maybe they can get something done, but the Flakked is the one that they need to take out of the fight. The Ezreal for now untouched, slowly peeling back, continuing to poke. Carlsen going golden, gives himself a bit extra time. Rahel desperate to finish the kill. Doesn't have the angle to get anything more done, but Flakked just continues to fire Qs, but in the meantime, sniped out. Carlsen taken down. Team Heretics slowed for now. No Nexus towers falling. SK hold the line, but the Ezreal in the meantime, not enough to finish the kill.
This game feels really weird. I feel like Heretics is like playing better macro kind of and playing better game, but SK have been really good on the engages. Like Loopy and Isma are finding really, really good angles, but it feels like it's just not enough. Like even this defense, it's like, yeah, guys, we can farm triple in it. But it's still going to be, enemies going to go to Nash, and they're going to come back to your base, and they're going to do it all over again. And as long as Kamiloo now has flash, I mean, he had flash before, but let's say he just, you know, flashes the engage, it's going to be pretty easy for them, I think.
I appreciate your unintentional PM. Well done. The quick check after you said it. Whoops. Yeah, also, of course, has the arm guard, so should be in a much better position in the fight to come. This is, overall, though, it still feels like end of days for SK. I don't know if the next item spikes are really going to be enough. Jayce is strong at this stage of the game, but no one's going to give him that angle for the infamous like hammer form Jayce flank where you're able to just one-shot a carry.
To be fair, to cope it to the max, if
Yes.
SK do that again, then I'd say the game is like, maybe even like,
okay.
favorable for them even.
So right now it's Team Heretics favored.
Yeah.
Heavily. And if they get one more
They
miracle
just need
fight,
one more miracle engage, just one
more to get it to even.
Just don't quit
And
before
then
that
one more
last
after
win.
that to
win
get it
the
in their
game.
favor.
Yeah.
They probably win at this point. It's late.
But the thing is, Heretics can play incredibly slow because they have the Nash buff. So
They
if
just chill.
if they just S-key and stand in front of them and throw their skill shots, then the minions will do their job for them. So it's SK that really needs to find something. Isma looking, not able to get up.
It's tough. It's operating at arm's length. Ulti goes out. Rahel not going to get locked up. Loopy is there to body block, but has to dash out. Nexus Tower's falling. Again, Team Heretics, like you said, just taking their time. Now finally Flakked starting to go in. Reeker able to catch Flakked off on the side, but he still had the cleanse, trying to back away. The Ezreal getting lower and lower. Reeker now running out of base, but it's all falling to pieces. Rahel still standing, but the Nexus will fall. Team Heretics not playing for kills, playing to end the game. First win in the 2025 winter season.
Much better game from Heretics here. Really happy to see them bounce back and that they also changed up their draft a little bit. Kind of disappointing to see SK just go for the same again and doing even worse.
I mean, I understand the logic. They obviously did change some of their decisions in terms of overall builds, but a lot of the same issues weren't able, I think, to most likely bring what they showed in practice to stage today. So credit to Team Heretics for adapting. Vote for your key player of the game, of course, at LEC on X, Sheo, Kamiloo, or Stend.
It's got to be Stend or Sheo. I mean.
Yeah, Stend and Sheo, very good.
Kamiloo had the good stats.
The recalls were questionable.
Yeah, but it's also like, I don't know, when your support and jungle are feeding you kills as a carry, you don't got to do much, you know?
That's all it took. That's how my solo queue experience is. Anyway, players, first bow, probably not the last of this season. We're going to go to a quick break, and afterwards, Lore is standing by with Kamiloo.